Hey everybody, welcome to our Fluid Thinking Live event. My name is Stephanie Bourne. I'm the brand manager here for Peak Commercial and Industrial, and today I am so excited to be talking all about OET. And joining me today is our Director of Product Management and our coolant expert, Mr. Mark Alexander. Welcome, Mark.
I'm glad to be here. Excited to talk about OET. It's a topic that I'm passionate about. Lived this for the last 18 months or so, and so I like to share it with our viewers what has been going on.
Wonderful, wonderful. So our audience can kind of get to know you a little bit. How long have you actually been in the coolant industry?
Long enough to know enough.
Okay.
I don't want to date myself too much, but I've been around for a while.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you for being here and to share your wisdom with our viewers. So before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping tips for our audience today. So we have a variety of viewers. We've got some DIYers, we have fleets, we have our commercial distributors, we have a variety of different people on.
Good.
So I know that you're going to speak to the entire audience today.
Good.
So I appreciate that. So today, for those that have signed up, we are going to be sending out a replay after today's event, so feel free to share it with those that couldn't join us today. And then secondly, 5 lucky winners at the end are going to be, we're going to answer your questions during our live Q&A at the end, and those 5 lucky winners are going to receive this Peak Zip jacket. So we're both wearing it today, so if you haven't done so already, go ahead and put your questions in the comments, and we're trying to get to as many as we can. But the lucky 5 will get this jacket. So, Mark, you're ready to get started?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, let's just sit back. We're going to have a nice conversation and
Okay.
educate our viewers today.
Okay.
So, what exactly is OET?
Well, Peak Original Equipment Technology is a line of antifreeze coolant products that were launched to meet the specific needs of vehicle manufacturers. And it's actually 3 different ranges of products, which represent Asian, European, and North American vehicles.
Okay.
And these are products that, as the name implies, original equipment technology, are aligned with the specific vehicle technology and colors for the coolants that are in those vehicles right from the factory.
Oh, wonderful.
And each one of the products meets applicable ASTM performance standards,
Okay.
and they're all available in 50/50 and concentrate versions.
Okay. So, why exactly was this particular brand of coolants launched?
Well, to answer that question, we really have to step back and look at what's happened over the last several years in terms of vehicles, in terms of their cooling systems, and the coolant technology in those systems, and even the DIY customer themselves.
Okay, okay. So, for our audience out there, we are getting ready to get a history lesson from you.
You are?
So take your notes, grab your pen and paper, because Mark's got a lot of great information to share. So, go for it.
Okay. You may have to slow me down a little bit.
Okay.
And really, what I want to do is I want to set the stage that kind of leads up to why we are where we are with OET
Okay.
and why it came to market. And if you think back 20 or so years ago, the world was an easier place when it came to automotive coolants.
Okay.
You really had only the big 3 manufacturers in North America. You had Ford, GM, Chrysler. And they had cooling systems that were primarily cast iron block, cast iron cylinder head, copper brass radiators and heater cores, and brass water pumps. So it was a fixed system. You know, you didn't have much in the presence of other brands, foreign brands such as Asian or European vehicles. What was here were import vehicles. They weren't manufactured here. I mean, I still remember my brand new 1980 Datsun 200SX.
Oh, a Datsun, okay.
The Datsun, which is a Nissan nowadays.
Okay.
And I was cruising down little Main Street, Glencoe, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah, farm boy. And having people look at my vehicle like it was an alien spacecraft. I mean, they had never seen a foreign brand before.
Oh my goodness.
So that was the situation then, and of course things have changed over the time. So with those metals in the system, what the vehicle manufacturers were looking for was a specific coolant chemistry to protect those metals from corrosion.
Okay.
And so what you had was conventional green inorganic additive technology coolant,
Okay.
which is perfect for the time and for those systems. So that was fine until the metallurgy started to change in the system. And so what that means is aluminum alloys were developed, and they were developed because they represented weight savings. So a lighter vehicle, you get better fuel economy, you get lower emissions, you get quicker acceleration. So a lot of advantages to having aluminum in the system. So those went from being cast iron, brass, copper, et cetera, to being some proportion of aluminum components winding up in those systems. So mixed metal systems, and it even went so far as to some of these systems were all aluminum.
Oh, wow.
So all the
Okay.
components were aluminum, which represented the best weight savings.
Sure.
And so now you had a new environment that they needed to be protected. And so what you saw in 1995 was GM launched the first organic additive technology coolant.
Okay.
OET. And they
OET.
dyed it orange and they branded it Dexcool. And a lot of people recognize Dexcool. It's still around today.
Sure.
And in fact, GM expanded the application of that coolant across most of their platforms. Well, it wasn't long after that that Ford and Chrysler came out with their own coolant to deal with the specifics of their system. So that was a hybrid organic additive technology, which is a blend of inorganic and organic additives. So what you've seen already in that is you've gone from green to orange OET to a hybrid coolant system, coolant in the marketplace. So you have this new blend of coolant technologies that are out there.
Okay.
So you're starting to create some complexity in the marketplace. You got more complex systems, you got more complex coolants. And the other thing is that because of the complexity, Peak and some of the other major marketers launched yellow dyed extended life coolants.
Sure. Yep.
Those are also OET coolants. And the advantage there was they're positioned as basically all makes, all models.
Right, right.
So you could put these in any vehicle, in any cooling system, and it would be fully compatible with the technologies that are already there.
Okay.
And that was good because with the confusion that was starting to occur among the DIY consumer, it gave them an easy answer for what do I need to get.
Yeah,
They
makes
were
sense.
they were topping off the cooling systems, and maybe they're doing a coolant change, but they were coming in, they didn't really know what they needed for their vehicle.
Okay.
And so they maybe more cost conscious. There was now an offering that you can provide to them that gave good corrosion protection for all those metals across all those different types of vehicles.
Okay, makes sense.
Yep. So kind of another layer of complexity was, you know how I said there were almost no Asian and European vehicles way back?
Right.
Well, now you start to see that more and more of that in the vehicle population, and I think Sean had a chart here that shows the breakdown
Our cameraman, Sean.
of that population. You can see, I bet you didn't know that nearly half of all passenger car light duty vehicles on the road today are Asian brands.
I did not know that.
And you can see there the next biggest segment is the North American at just under 40%. And the smallest is European,
Well, that's
which
kind of surprising.
I thought was surprising because, you know, here in the Chicago area, people are either driving Teslas or Beamers or Mercedes, or so it seems.
Okay.
And in fact, if you look across the United States, you're going to see regional differences, city-to-city differences in what the vehicle population looks like.
That makes sense.
So that kind of brings us up to new coolants, new technologies, new metals, and now you have the emergence of those vehicle manufacturers. And they have different views on what the technology should be in their cooling systems.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, North American, we know the GMs and the Chryslers, but now these new, the Asian and European manufacturers, what has really changed from their perspective, why now people are buying more of those type of vehicles, the Asian vehicles as an example? Well,
those manufacturers have systems that are unique. They're different in some ways from the domestic North American manufacturers.
Okay.
And so what they've determined is maybe there's a aluminum crevice corrosion problem in a radiator, or maybe there's a water pump cavitation problem.
Okay.
Whatever, there's something in their system where they want to protect against that.
Right.
And so in addition to the other technologies, the HOTs, the OETs, and the conventional, now they've taken that a step further. And you see some phosphate enhanced OET coolants, you see some silicated enhanced OET, you see some silicated enhanced HOT coolants. So now you're up to 6 different technologies at least that are in the marketplace.
Oof.
And so, you need to deal with that. You need to provide for the requirements of those vehicles.
Okay. Okay. Well, talking about complexity, because that's just a lot of information that was just shared. Thank you so much for that. But along with that complexity comes with color. A lot of the questions that we got from our viewers, thank you so much for sending in all your comments, is why are there so many different colors? Can you help answer that question?
Absolutely, and it's a good question because what people see, they don't see technology, they see color.
Are they really different technologies? So I know we covered it just a little bit, but are they really that different?
They are. Sean, we've got the rainbow chart, you want to put that up. It kind of gives this is a nice palette of every color under the rainbow, so to speak. And what this shows is on the left are the colors that the OEs expect to have for representing their coolants in those systems. And to the right are 4 different brands that you might find in the marketplace. And the key thing here is you can see that there's gaps in the color coverage.
Sure.
And in some cases, it's the wrong color that is being promoted as being for use in vehicles that take a different color. And so it creates confusion in the marketplace. And so the colors are important because you have to take color and technology together. At the factory, the manufacturers want to make sure, because they have more than one fluid in the factory for different platforms, that the right technology is winding up on those vehicles.
Right.
And if you take a car in for under warranty service, the dealership needs to make sure the right coolant goes back into those vehicles.
Absolutely.
If you're out of warranty and you're going to an installer, the installer wants to make sure the right coolant's going into those systems
Right.
for what was already in there.
Absolutely.
So there's that color alignment, but color is not enough by itself. There's an Asian blue, there's a European blue. So blue is not blue. You know, there's conventional green and an Asian green. They're vastly different.
Sure.
So you can't just say, I need a green coolant. You have to have a longer conversation and a little bit deeper thought on that to say, what is my vehicle, and make, model, year, and go from there to try to match up the coolant.
Okay, wow, fantastic. So how can customers or installers tell which is the right coolant for their vehicle with the Peak brand?
Well, when we set off on this road to OET, as I like to describe it, we took our time in understanding what the vehicle requirements were, what the coolants in the marketplace looked like, who the buyer was.
Okay.
As we've gone from an all makes, all models buyer, who's still around today in large numbers, we started to see that a different category of DIYer was also emerging.
Sure.
And these are people that are a lot more engaged with their vehicles. They do more complicated maintenance to them beyond just topping off the washer and fluid or something like that, or even topping off the coolant.
Right.
And so they're also doing more research on the right components for those vehicles. They're looking for OEM level of performance. And when it came to coolant, they were going primarily to the dealership because they know the right coolant is available from
Sure.
the dealership. And there's a price premium to be paid for that fluid. So they're looking for an answer for their specific needs for their vehicles.
Okay.
And so with that, you have a different environment. We want to understand the consumer. First and foremost, we want to make sure that the products that we launched were the exact technology and color match for what was in those vehicles right from the factory.
Okay.
So it's fully compatible with what's in there, and it's what the coolant is that was intended by the manufacturer. Again, we talked earlier about the specific needs of those systems.
Right.
And the second thing was, with all the different colors and technology combinations, you saw the rainbow.
Right.
How could we make it a no-brainer for our customers, their customers, the installers, and even the DIYers to match up the coolant to their
Yeah,
vehicles?
super simple.
Super simple. So we did that in a number of ways. If you look at the packages here, and I think Sean's got a close-up of the packaging, you can see that we've done a number of different things. The first thing is we wanted people to recognize that there's three ranges. So the European, Asian, and North American, we gave each one their own unique bottle color. And you
Okay.
can see the Asians are blue, the Europeans are this gray silver, and the North American are the champagne color. And I like champagne, so I thought that was a great color.
I like champagne too, so there you go.
There you go. And then we also considered the coolant color. And
Okay.
so we made sure that the cap and the labels matched the color of the coolant that was in the bottles, and it would match the color of the coolant in the system.
Okay.
And then you talk about, well, how do I know what color of coolant I should have in there?
Sure.
Well, if you're doing what you're supposed to, which is proper cooling system maintenance, that when you lift the hood and you check your oil level, you should also be checking the coolant level.
Sure.
You know, we did a survey and we found that as many as 60% of the vehicles on the road are either low or dangerously low on coolant.
60%. And for those of you watching today, we actually have a campaign going on that is called 18 Degrees Away from a Mechanical Emergency, because you're literally 18 degrees away, high or low, from being low in coolant. And so
Right.
our goal is to have you check your coolant, and that's the reason for the campaign, because as you discovered, 60% of vehicles are low in coolant.
Right.
So
And the coolant level is important because when you have a full system and the coolant's in good condition, then the coolant's going to operate at the right operating temperature. There's a sweet spot in temperature, and the optimal concentration is 50-50.
Sure.
And I bet most people don't know that coolant's the real lifeblood of the engine, not oil, because both motor oil and transmission fluid are cooled by the antifreeze. And so the coolant's not at the right temperature for the reasons I said. The oil and transmission fluid might be running at a higher temperature. Higher temperatures accelerate the breakdown of those fluids.
Okay.
So it's critical to have the right level so the engine runs at the right operating temperature.
makes sense.
So you check, you might see that the color in the reservoir is blue.
Okay.
All right? Great clue for what your coolant is supposed to be. In my particular case, 2014 Nissan Murano,
Okay.
I checked and guess what? There was no coolant in there.
None?
Nope. The dealership is supposed to be topping out the fluids when I get my oil change. No.
They didn't do it.
Nope.
Oh my goodness.
And so a lot of people are driving around, they don't know that the coolant is low.
Wow.
So I looked in the owner's manual, and it says it takes genuine Nissan blue.
Okay.
Okay, so that was good guidance for me as I go and I look for the coolant for my vehicle.
Okay. Well, I've got a 2017 BMW, so how do I know which one to choose for my vehicle, aside from, I know it's European,
Okay?
right?
Well, you know, make, model, year.
Right.
So maybe you don't know what the coolant color is.
Right.
But when you go to our portfolio of products here in the Euro range, you're going to find 3 products.
Okay.
There's a Euro blue, there's a Euro pink, and there's a Euro violet.
Okay.
Why? Because the technology has changed as the vehicle model years has changed. So the blue is the oldest vehicle technology, older vehicle technology. The pink is kind of the middle-aged vehicles, and violet is for the newest ones.
Okay.
So you could go to the shelf, or you can look in our product literature at the European, and you can go down the front of it. What we've done is we put the specific vehicle lists on there
Okay. So here I see BMW All.
for the blue fluid.
So this would be my coolant
That's your
for
coolant.
that vehicle. Okay.
Absolutely. And I can do the same thing. I can look at the Asian blue because I know my coolant color.
Right.
So it narrows it down from the 3 that there are right to the blue bottle. I can see it says 2009 Nissan and
Perfect.
2009 and newer.
Again, super simple.
Right. There's no mistaking it. I'm going to
Okay.
get exactly the right fluid. You're going to have the exactly right fluid for your vehicle. So we have the color key, we have the different color bottles for the different ranges,
Okay.
and we have the make, model, year, cover vehicle list right on the front of the package.
Okay.
You don't even have to look at the back of the package.
Nice.
So, and also we provided laminated application charts. So you can see here, this is the Asian vehicle. On the back side is the European vehicle range.
Nice.
And there's one for North American. And on the back side of this one, we actually added some information that speaks to proper cooling system maintenance.
And where are these located?
So these are part of the part numbers that can be ordered by our distributor partners or by accounts. And they come with a chain so that they can be hung at the shelf or kept close at hand.
Okay.
And beyond that, we've also just launched a brand new coolant brochure. And I think this is a great resource because it talks about each one of the products. And on the inside somewhere here, it's got a great comparison chart that looks at each one of the different products in comparison range to range. And so this will be coming out soon. It's being printed right now and it'll be a great resource.
And a great sample to that, for those of you that are watching, if you go to the registration page, there is a section called Download. You will find something very similar to that. So when you do speak to your customers, you have a great jumping off point, a great roadmap, so to speak,
Right.
in order to share with your customers.
Right. So I think the communication has been made very simple. And actually we have this proven in our accounts where we've been doing very well because the DIYer is able to come in, they can go to the shelf, they can find the product, and they can walk away knowing that they picked it, and they do so very quickly.
Okay, wonderful. So what has Peak done to actually bring OET to the marketplace itself?
Well, in addition to what we're doing with a product as case goods, where any of the 9 different formulas can be ordered, we've just launched a commercial rack program. That's what you see sitting here.
Okay,
And it's a tool that we developed so that our distributor partners can reach their installer customers.
Nice.
It gives the installers a new tool to use in the shops where they can have stored right at hand in a very compact footprint the exact products that they need for the mix of vehicles that are coming through their door. And so they can get whichever ones of the formulas that they need to have on hand. They have a place to store it. And also it comes with a sign kit, we call it. So it has a header sign talking about the coolant program. And you can see that there are different signs on each one of these shelves here, which are reversible. So you can take this out and you can flip it around. So depending on the mix of the coolants that you are actually using in the shop,
sure.
you can have the customized signage to go with it. The biggest challenge here is getting a sign.
There you go.
Back in. I'm not left-handed. And so the other thing that we think that it offers for the installers is when I go get service on my vehicle at
Sure.
the Nissan dealer, it's got a big window there. So I can look out into the bay and I can see what's being done to vehicles and I can see the products that are being used. So going to the counter to have the work written up is an opportunity, we think, for the installers, for the dealers to offer a more premium program to the customers coming in.
Wonderful. Wow, so this is an all-inclusive system.
It is. The rack comes knocked down in a box, the sign kit's in it, the application charts are with it. The rack is really super durable, it's high quality, and it's an easy assembly.
Wonderful, wonderful. Wow, that is a lot of great information. Hopefully you guys are taking notes. and taking advantage of this video. We will be sending out the replay, so you will be able to share this with your customers going forward. So before we get moving to the Q&A, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience before we answer their questions?
Well, the only thing I would add here is that you may have customers that are Asian-only, Euro-only vehicle garages. And case goods may not be the right size for them. So we're also launching drum quantities.
Okay.
The Asian and Euro are available now. The North American Gold is just about ready for launch.
Okay.
And then we'll be also commercializing the North American Green and Orange formulations.
Wow, wonderful, wonderful. So readily available, but in bulk, we're almost there.
Right.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Mark, thank you so much. Well, let's go ahead and head over to our Q&A portion of today's event.
All right.
And we have 5 lucky winners that are going to have their questions answered. So you're on the hook to answer these questions.
Okay.
Okay, so our first question comes to us from Jim, and he is based out of Ohio. And what a lovely question. Why should I choose Peak for my coolant?
Wow. You got about an hour? No, I'm just kidding. It's a good question. And you can answer it easily. With Peak, you can buy with confidence. And I really believe it, and I stand behind every product that we market. We've got an excellent technical team that partners closely with the vehicle manufacturers. And so they're constantly aware of what those cooling systems look like, what the metals are in those systems, and the technologies that the OEMs are going to require for protecting those systems. And in fact, our team has in large part influenced what those technologies are. They help guide them on what's appropriate for those metals. We're leaders in the industry, and that's part of our responsibility. And the other thing it does for us, it gives us an early look at what might be coming down the road. So that we know, for example, that one of the major North American manufacturers is going to be moving to a phosphated oat coolant with some of their 2019 vehicles.
Wow.
And so if you remember, the North American manufacturers haven't historically liked phosphate and silicate in the formulations. They're really more like organic acid technology. Well, now they recognize that in some cases that phosphate is needed to help protect those systems.
Okay.
So there's a continued evolution of it. And that's important too, because once those vehicles are near the end of warranty and the coolant is needed in the aftermarket for them, we need to make sure that that formula in its color is available within the North American range. And then beyond that, our team here, the marketing team, the technical team, everybody, product management, has worked very hard to make sure that the OET launch has gone flawlessly at every step of the channel from shelf to shop. And also we have a world-class distribution network that ensures that the product's going to get delivered on time every time.
Wow, go Peak.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's a fantastic answer. Thank you so much. So our next question comes to us from Joe, and he is based out of New York. And his question is, what is the main ad pack differences between the Asian, European, and North American formulations?
Okay, well, that's a good question. I hope that during our session I was explaining that the technology and color combinations are very unique across all 3 of those ranges. There's not any one difference, but if I was to kind of simplify it, to go back to what I said before, that the Asian manufacturers in large part, they like phosphate. They don't want silicate or nitrite in their coolants. The Europeans don't want phosphate. Phosphate is sensitive to hard water, so that if you're making your own 50-50 mix to go in the system from a bottle of concentrate that you get, the quality of water needs to be good. And the best thing to do is to get deionized or distilled water, because then the purity is good. Phosphate can combine with calcium and magnesium that's in hard water, and it'll actually fall out of solution.
Oh, wow.
And so that means that that inhibitor is not available to protect the surface, and it also creates possibly an insulating barrier on those metal surfaces to block heat transfer, and nobody wants that. So Europeans that typically have had an issue with hard water. So they've stayed away from phosphate, they like silicate. So kind of a couple of key differences, and also that the North American manufacturers up to this point have not really wanted phosphate or silicate in their coolants. So some top level differences, but the differences go well beyond that. They are very unique systems.
Okay, so that's some great information. Thank you so much. Joe, hopefully that answered your question. Next question comes to us from Alex, and he's based out of Northeast Pennsylvania. And he has a 2-part question. First question is, can coolants be mixed? And if so, is there a chart available to use as a reference, similar to like a grease compatibility chart?
Okay, so I will take that in 2 parts, because we have essentially 2 classes of coolant here. We have the all makes all models coolant. And by their definition, they don't really need a compatibility chart because they're already intended to be compatible with all the various technologies.
Okay.
So that's kind of a given.
Right.
But when you talk about vehicle-specific coolants such as OET, you're talking about someone, a DIYer, who's buying a specific technology color combination for their vehicle.
Okay.
It's only supposed to be used in that type of vehicle. And so it's not a question of compatibility because you're only going to use it where it's supposed to be.
Right.
But it's a question of applicability. And that's why we have the charts that I showed you before, the vehicle application charts.
Okay.
So those are the charts that exist.
Oh, makes sense. All right. Well, Alex, thank you for your question. And our next one comes from Lori. She is based out of Pomona, California. And her question is, since each coolant is formulated with the same corrosion inhibitor technology, is there really that much difference between each color that would be requiring carrying each color for those three groups?
Okay. Well, this is an interesting question, and what it suggests to me is because they're submitting questions before they have the benefit of what we just went through as our history and exploration. I hope by now that she knows that the technologies are not all the same.
Very
It's
different.
not just a question of taking a technology and dyeing it different colors.
Right.
That they are all unique across all those vehicle brands and all those makes and models, so that you really need to have the right technology color combination. There's no shortcutting. You know, there are some programs in the marketplace, some competitive programs, where I walk in there and I see there's an Asian red and an Asian blue and a Euro blue.
Okay.
Well, there's a whole bunch that are missing.
Right.
So if I'm a Hyundai owner, mine takes a green Asian coolant. I go to the shelf, I'm not going to see green coolant. I'm going to see Hyundai listed on the blue one, and so it makes it, why is that listed over there? And the label, by the way, doesn't say anything about model and year to help guide on the
Right.
selection. So do I take the chance and I put the blue fluid in there, or do I walk away? And the same thing if I have...
wouldn't do it.
No, I wouldn't do it either. If I have a newer European vehicle that's supposed to take a violet, and I go there and there's only a Euro blue, what do I do? I know there's three different technology. The consumer is going to see that there's no way to match to what
Something's
they're supposed to
missing.
be. Yeah. So we want to make sure, and we have done that in our line, that the right technologies are available across the board.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Laura, for your question. And then our last question and our last winner is James, and he comes to us from New Hampshire. And his question is, knowing that Old World is the producer of many OEM fluids, can we have literature to help us validate the Peak brand to our potential customers?
The answer is sure you can. And actually, we've talked about much of it. The first thing I would do is I'd go to our website, and you can find a safety data sheet there for each of the products. You can find a product data sheet there. And the data sheet is a real nice one-page resource that talks about the product, the technology, the vehicle applications. It's got some physical chemical properties there, such as the pH of the coolant, and it's got shipping information, so that if you're ordering quantities of this, you know what the pallet weight is, et cetera, for
Right.
that. I've shown you the coolant brochure for the
Right.
OET family. It takes that another step and provides more information beyond that. And beyond that, we also have some training flyers. They're one-pagers for each one of the three
Oh,
ranges.
fantastic.
So it gives kind of a snapshot of what they are. And for the rack program, we have a one-page promo flyer for that.
Wow,
So
lots of
a
great
lot of resources
information.
are already available. If there's something that our customers think that they need to go and educate their customers and the end users, then just contact us.
Okay.
And we'll figure out what we can do for them.
Okay, wonderful. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being a part of today's program and this episode, and to educate our viewers today. And for those that are watching today, if you do have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to your Peak sales representative. He or she will be able to take good care of you. So we want to say thank you so much to Mark, and we want to say thank you for watching today, and we'll see you next time.
And hopefully earn his jacket.
Yes, he earned his jacket × 2. What do you guys think? Thanks
Thank
for
you.
watching. See you next time.